And I'd done a great deal of studying on the internet and anything I get my hands on to learn about cochlear implants, and understanding my particular type of deafness, which was otosclerosis of both ears. The Med-L implant really made good sense to me because it appeared that they had done a great deal of research on actually a very small percentage of a type of hearing loss that I had, and they could either go with the standard approach, which would mean the regular electrode device going into the cochlea, and if my cochlea was super ossified, and although the x-rays looked okay, anything can happen. And there was the thought of the split array, which would be an electrode that had 7 channels on one end and 5 on the other, and they would go in through the top and the bottom of the cochlea, basically. I know this sounds silly, but it was important to me. Call me vain, call me whatever you want, but it looked good. It didn't look too clinical. It looked something that I would feel great about wearing. And hearing just the first beep was so clean and clear. That doesn't sound like a big deal to a lot of people, but it was, wow, this is so clean and clear. It's not like pots and pans, you know. I was hearing right away, I mean immediately, and I remember Sean just looking at me, and he goes, "Can you hear me?" And I just couldn't say anything. I was just, because they didn't tell me it was going to happen, I wasn't ready, and all of a sudden I was hearing, and I was just, and I said, "Yes, I can hear you." And I said, it sounds just like we talked about, that it's going to sound very different and maybe even unpleasant. And I was very prepared for that. And so when it sounded kind of like computer talk, that was okay. I could understand what was being said right away. And now, it's great. I'm at about 6 months, and I just can't imagine that it can be better than it is. But I said that 3 months ago, and every day is my best day. It really is.
Andrew was identified basically in the hospital when he was born as being hearing impaired. He didn't pass the first screening that they did. And they told us to come back in a couple of weeks for a follow-up check, which yielded no better results. And then was maybe a month after he was born that we did an ABR and found out that he had a moderate hearing loss in his left ear and a severe profound in his right ear. So we were worried around his first birthday that his hearing had changed for the worse, and we had another ABR done at that point, and all of his hearing at that point was gone. We were trying to rest while he was in surgery, but it's nerve-wracking, you know, when your 18-month-old child is on the operating table. And right after the surgery, Dr. Rowland came out and told us everything went well. About a half hour into the surgery, the anesthesiologist called out to the room just to tell us that everything was going fine, and that was really nice. That helped us a lot, I think, at that point.
It was a smaller incision than I thought, and the swelling went down very fast.
Yeah, Andrew, the next morning, I mean, this is less than 24 hours from when he had the surgery. All he wanted to do was play. I mean, he was ready to go home, ready to play, and that was it. And he was fine from that point on. It never appeared to bother him a bit.
And then we waited 1 month for the hookup, and that was tough. We wanted it hooked up right away, but it went really well at the hookup. He cried and winced and clung to me. And that night, we read books to him, and he looked at our face, he looked at the pictures, stories made sense for the first time.
That was the first time he would sit still to read a book. And we read to our daughter, who's a couple years older than Andrew, and always have, and we tried to do that with Andrew, but he would never pay attention. I mean, you could point at pictures and everything, but he would never have much attention span for a book. And starting that first night, he loves it, and that was really, really neat.
We've had, I think, a natural speech progression. He is learning like a natural kid. He's 18 months delayed, but the speech comes smoothly, and he's worked his way up to 3-word phrases now.
We of course learned that he was indeed a good candidate for a cochlear implant, and that was a great moment, and we were all excited. And then we learned that, well, we have to decide which device to use. And at the time we had a choice between 2 of the devices, and I'm an engineer for profession, so I got very into this decision, and I researched the matter, I think, to a deep level. I spoke with a number of people, a couple of different speech pathologists. I got textbooks on speech. I sat in front of a machine and made spectrograms of my own speech and looked at them, and I worried about this for a number of weeks, and came to the decision that Med-L device would be the best one for Andrew. And that was based on a number of things. One of them is the update rate that the Med-L device uses. It was a lot more than the other device that we had in our choice. And the number of electrodes looked to be adequate. To me, looking at all these spectrograms of different speech, it seemed to be important to get the short periods between impulses so that the consonants could be better understood, because they happen in such brief little periods of time. And I think that was probably the main reason that we went with Med-L. Another reason that factored into it was the fact that Med-L puts a lot more of their revenue back into research. And I look at implant, I mean, the part that's implanted stays there for a long time, but the computer is something that can change over time. The strategies that are used to decode speech are things that can be easily changed because it's software. And we wanted to have something that we thought offered the most potential for future benefits for Andrew as time went by.
If you require further information, please contact either your nearest Med-L clinic or Med-L U.S. headquarters toll-free at 1-888-633-3524 or www.medl.com.